Craig Fairbrass, welcome to BritFlicks. It's a real pleasure, mate.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Been a fan of yours for a long while, and
is that a genuine fan, or are you?
No, that is a genuine fan, and I mean, you've got a massive fan base as well. I'd like to learn a little bit about you, and I mean, how it all started. You know, you come from East London. Your mum was a machinist. Your dad was a docker.
Yeah, God rest their souls.
You didn't get on that well at school.
Yeah, I had a few problems at school. It's funny because I think as when you're growing up and you're at school, if you're either academic or you're not, and if you do struggle, you tend to look for little distractions. Do you know what I mean? I struggled at school academically.
But then you auditioned for the National Youth Theatre.
I had two very good teachers. Denise O'Brien, who's now Denise Ireland, drama teacher, who sort of took a liking to me, and I found drama as an outlet. It was like an escape, you know what I mean, to let out all that energy. Although I ended up getting expelled from school, but in that time, she said to me, listen, they're looking for young actors at the National. They're doing a National Theatre Youth Company, and you should think about going up there and audition. So I went up there, auditioned, ended up getting in, and was there for 6 weeks in the summer holidays. There was kids from all over London. Cut a long story short, we put on a play at the end, and that was my real first being on stage, properly acting. And from that moment, I think I was like 15, I got the bug, you know.
And so how does your dad being a docker react to you wanting to be an actor?
I was very, very lucky, very supportive mum and dad. And, you know, if I'd have said I would have been an astronaut or a ballet dancer, the old man would have been, you got to do what makes you happy. Like I'm with my two boys, you know what I mean? But, yeah, very supportive. But he was a huge inspiration to me, my dad, because one of the main things that made me want to be an actor was watching the films that he watched. So I grew up watching the Robert Mitchums, the Charles Bronsons, and one of my favourite actors, Lee Marvin. You know, these were all geezers, they were men. And I was just fascinated with films. Yeah, Charlton Heston, The Omega Man, Planet of the Apes, all of those big sort of movies. But these were like larger than life, iconic male characters. They wasn't a feat, they were masculine. And I was sort of drawn to that thing. And it just festered in my mind, you know. Then I saw Connery playing Bond, and I was like, I'd love to be an actor. I'd love to be an actor. And then it just took off, you know.
And then, so you become a roofer in between doing some acting.
Yeah, I was very lucky because I started going to the gym when I was about 16 in South East London, and all of my mates were either doormen or in the building game. So I wanted to be an actor. Obviously, I'd got expelled from school, and I went straight into the building game, you know, labouring. And then I met a really good fellow at the gym who said to me, you know, how'd you fancy working for me, be a potman? He was an asphalter, paid me good money. And I'll give you time off if you want auditions, or you want to go off and if you're lucky enough to get a little job. Guy called Peter Jeffries. And you know, it's funny in life because you can't do nothing without money. You know, you need money. So anyway, yeah, I went to drama school for about 6 months. It didn't really work out. And I went back into the building game, got myself an agent, and sort of took it from there, you know.
Getting an agent can't be easy, being a working class lad in East London, surely.
It was impossible at the time. But, you know, you write off and you take the route you got to do. And I was lucky enough, someone wrote back to me. I met them, little place over in Wimbledon. And that was the beginning. And then right out of the blue, I'd had all these photos done. And the agent said to me, oh, they're a casting director called Leo Davis is looking for actors. She's looking at doing this film. They're bringing Denzel Washington over from America, and they're doing this film called For Queen and Country. And they've been casting for the last 6 weeks as a character that they're really struggling with. I've sent your picture in. Luckily enough, Leo Davis, because she's an amazing casting director, had the hindsight to see past the picture and see me. And I walked in and she was like, you know, first and foremost, get rid of that smudge. That picture's got to go. It was the hair down there, all looking, you know. Anyway, cut a long story short, the next day I went in for an audition at Working Title. You know, the Tim Bevan company, met Martin Stellman and Trix Worrell. They were all part of the film. And it was to play this character, Challoner. He was this horrible sort of racist detective, young detective. And they looked everywhere. And I remember doing the reading at the rough, this Trix up, you know, like an impro. And I did it, and they were like, I could tell they was like, oh, that's interesting. And then we spoke about my background and that. And I remember walking out the building, and they opened the window and chucked me down the full script and said, read that, see you soon. I remember getting on the train and thinking to myself, that went really well, please God. And then I got that call. Next thing I know, I'm opposite Denzel Washington, Academy Award-winning actor, who went on to be an Academy Award-winning actor. And that was a massive experience. And that was the real, I then got signed up by ICM, which is now independent, off the back of that, and then just started grafting. Where's that water? Sorry.
Because your mate Frank Harper was in that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank was teaching Denzel how to do the Cockney accent, driving him about.
Oh, right.
You know, yeah. A long time ago, 1986, I think. Yeah, 1986, 87.
1988.
1988.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've done London's Burning, Prime Suspect with Helen Mirren.
Yep.
What was she like to work with?
That was an amazing experience because, you know, as actors, sometimes you have these little spurts. Because still you go through periods of quietness, and then all of a sudden you get like buses. Fucking, they can come along like 100 in a minute, you know, and you. So I was doing London's Burning, and then I went up for an audition for Prime Suspect. Ended up getting that part. And that sort of opened up it was the new big thing coming through on TV. Even though I had a small role, it was a huge accolade for me to be employed on it. Meeting Helen Mirren, met some really good friends, and there were some good actors on that show. But what happened with that, an agent saw me in America when it won an Emmy and just liked the look of me and said, you know, Craig should come out to Hollywood. And I was always intrigued by that place. I actually thought I'd never actually go there, to be honest with you. But I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing anything. And I thought, you know what? You know, you've got to take risks in life. You don't get nothing unless you go out there and you chase it. And I've always been a man who, for everything I've ever done, I've made it happen. I've never been reliant on anybody. Even, you know, my business is away from acting. I've always been very, very, very driven. I never listened to anybody. I was always like focused. Blinkers were on, and that was it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go. So I got on a plane and went for 6 weeks. Ended up getting 2 offers on 2 movies. One was The Bodyguard, but they'd already give a work visa to one of the Kemps, and the role wasn't that big to warrant it. Anyway, they ended up casting another fella. I was absolutely gutted. So they wanted a young bodyguard, flash type fella. Anyway, it never worked out. But as they say, you know, as one door shuts, another one opens. About a week later, I was actually going to go home early. That's how depressed I was. You know what I mean? I was a little bit down. And a meeting came through with a casting director called Mindy Marin. And one of my favourite action films of all time is Die Hard 2. I love action films in the snow. You know, like Her Majesty's Secret Service, Die Hard 2. And I was a massive fan of Rennie Harlin. So I was more interested and more sort of excited because I wanted to meet him. You know, so I went in there, it was just a general. And it was just a quick meeting, met her, read a scene, and she liked me. She said, listen, I want you to come back and meet Rennie. Anyway, cut a long story short, 2 weeks went past and I went back in and met him. It went really well. It was a huge pleasure to meet him. We spoke about Die Hard for fucking an hour. And I think he was genuinely interested that I was interested in his stuff and him. And then I went home to London. I never heard a thing. And then they called me through and said, we need you to do one more scene because it's now down to Stallone to pick between you and another couple of fellas. And I was like, oh, God, I've been through the mill on this. Anyway, I went up to town, did another couple of scenes, and I was lucky enough, ended up getting the part. It was a small part in a big film, but I was in Italy for 6 months, and it really opened up my eyes to the business, because at the end of the day, I didn't realise, in America it's treated as a business. And Stallone said to me one day, you've got a lot going for you. Go home and look in the mirror, see what you got to sell, and get out there and sell it. And here I am, Not at the top, not at the bottom, but doing it. In films, which I always wanted to do.
But you are the British answer to sort of Stallone, Bruce Willis, who else can I think? But, you are a great action movie star. And,
well, it's very kind of you to say that.
No, I really believe that.
Well, I do a certain thing. It seems to have got a little bit better since I got a bit better at acting. And, obviously the physicality, it's the package. It's took a long time for it to click and start working, but thank God it started working, even as I'm getting older. And I've been lucky enough to be in some good stuff and some bad stuff,
I don't think there's any actor who can't say they've been in some bad stuff.
Well, that's part and parcel of the job. At the end of the day, you're a prostitute, and when you're young, you're gagging just to work. You just want to be in front of a camera or on a stage. You just want to act. So you're not that choosy about what you want to do. You just want to do anything. But as you get older, and if you're lucky enough to get some good roles, and then you start working on the craft and start, wanting to be involved in better gear.
And then, in 2007...
2007.
Rise of the Foot Soldier.
Rise of the Foot Soldier.
Now, that must have been a game changer to your life.
It was a massive game changer. I'll tell you exactly what happened, because I'd come out of EastEnders. I didn't work for a year. I did a little thing for Channel 5 about the Dome robbery. But I knew I was going to struggle. But I always had to keep the hope and the faith of the fact of before I'd gone into that show. And I'm eternally grateful for that show. I had a fantastic time. And I said this a million times, it saved me life. 2 young babies, it was, regular dough coming in. But before I'd gone in there, I'd done a body of work in film. And when I left, we all go through them little bouts of depression. And I remember thinking to myself, the only thing I can do is to get back on a plane and go back out to LA. That's the only thing I can do. And luckily enough, I ended up nicking the villain in White Noise 2 with Nathan Fillion. I went out to Vancouver, shot the film, and it instilled my confidence back again. And it made me realise that I could walk into a room and nick a job. Had a great time on the film. And in that time, a mate of mine sent me the script out, Foot Soldier, because a lot of people always said to me, if they ever made a film about the Essex Boys, you'd be a great Pat Tate. And I'd heard that for years, because they'd done the one with Sean Bean. And he ended up doing it. Although they sort of went against type. But I still liked it, because I'm a Sean Bean fan. Anyway, I read the script, and I thought, oh, fuck, I'd kill to play that part. And luckily enough, Julian Gilby had the foresight and the strength as a director not to be, because obviously he had people in his ear hole going, oh, it's a geezer from EastEnders. But because he was he was very film literate, Julian. He knew that I'd done White Noise, that I'd nicked another American movie, that I was sort of semi-working my way back. I came back and met him. And we did a read through the thing, and he said, mate, you're perfect for this role. So we go, you know, lucky enough, I got the gig.
Did you realise when you was actually making the film how big it was going to be?
No, I don't think anybody does when you're working on a film. You just do the best you possibly can. All I knew is when I read it, he was such an explosive character, and I thought, you know, if I can semi get this a little bit right, it could really blow up, you know.
And in its day, I mean, it was the forefront of real brutality, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the film was received really well. I mean, obviously, we know what type of movie it is, and it's for a certain audience, but the cult following of it is huge. And I was lucky because I came out really well out of the film. You know, the Pat Tate character did stand out. You know, I just think because of the way he was, the aggressiveness, the you know, the split personality, the changes, and it worked. Lucky enough.
And some of the lines, were they sort of ad-libbed or was
a lot of ad-lib? I like to do that with that character. Do you know?
I mean, there's one real famous line. We're talking about the cheese you cunt.
Oh yeah, that's me. Yeah.
I mean, that's such a. I mean, at the time it was a shocking scene, but I mean, as years ago, obviously you get used to it, but it's still a great scene.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the script was there because Julian and Will did a fantastic job. What they gave us, that tapestry, and then Julian was say, you know, have a little bit of freedom to add at the beginning, add at the end. Obviously, we all got carried away with the swearing, but that was the landscape. You know, that's what it was. And that was what it was like, and luckily enough, the audience took to it. And here we are.
I think it sold sort of 870,000 DVDs.
No, 1 million.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well over 1 million.
That's a lot of DVDs, isn't it?
Yeah. But you know, they're very smart. You know, Andy Loveday's very film literate. He's a smart man. You know, he knows
how the business ticks.
Oh, massively, yeah.
After that, you worked on the bank job?
I did a little bit on the bank job. At actually the same time we was doing, because I would have had a bigger role, but I was doing Rise of the Foot Soldier. So it was a little bit of a...
Apparently in that film, Mick Jagger had a non-credited part.
Did he?
Yeah.
I remember seeing him.
Yeah, so according to IMDb anyway.
Yeah, right.
And actually going back to your career, your first non-credited credit is in Scum, in the riot scene.
I was an extra.
Yeah.
When I was on the dole, I was 16, I went down to sign on and they said to me, do you fancy 2 days on being an extra on a film? I went, because I was wanted to be, it was, yeah. So I did it, I was only in the riot scene, but I remember watching the cameras and the lights and seeing everything and thinking, this is for me, I want to do it.
That's a fantastic film, isn't it?
Yeah, great film.
It's still doing the rounds now.
Yeah, it's a quality film, but Ray's a quality actor, so...
Yeah, he is. He certainly is. Then there was a film that really, I think was underrated, Breakdown. You know,
yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot of jobs in between from where you just jumped to...
Yeah, so I'm just sort of jumping to your highlights.
Yeah, well, that was a film that my son produced, Luke, and you know, it was made for a specific reason. Johnny Malarkey, who wrote it, who's a really talented boy. There was a reason behind it. Unfortunately, it never worked out. But I love that film. You know, that's a reflection of me, and it's a reflection of my taste. As I said to you before, you know, at the end of the day, you're a prostitute. You get paid to do stuff. If you're lucky enough to be choosy, and you're lucky enough to have a pick. You want to try and do the best possible stuff you can, and that was before that, just rewind for a sec, I did a film called Devil's Playground after Foot Soldier, because I was originally offered to do Bonded by Blood and I couldn't do it because I'd been offered the lead in this film Devil's Playground with Danny Dyer, and it was a fantastic script, and I met Mark McQueen, who's a very, very, very talented, visually talented storyteller, and I'm a massive horror fan, and I wanted always to do like an Omega Man-y type movie. And this came along and I read it, the character of Cole. And it was the first time that I'd read a character with an Achilles heel. So I was this tough sort of mercenary bloke, but he was interesting. because he had a weakness to him. And I always find that I've sort of moved into that world of finding the human story at its heart, you know, and finding a weakness in these characters that makes them interesting. Pat Tate's very different. He's just a big, aggressive animal, you know, just kicks everybody up in the air, and he's one-dimensional. He's not like Eddie Franks. You know, I'm jumping across here, but what I'm trying to say to you is trying to get that something. So Cole, that character, was the first character I played where he was a sort of damaged, and it sort of really gave me a chance as an actor, and it sort of opened up my, people started scratching their head. I got a couple of good reviews, and Fairbrass ain't just a big 6'3", you know, he's not that bad.
There's a really good scene in there with where Mem Furder's being tortured.
You're talking about Breakdown now?
Yeah, Breakdown, I really do enjoy that.
I thought I was with the zombies then for a sec. But
sorry, yeah, I've digressed a little bit, sorry.
We're back with Mem. Mem's not a zombie.
Yeah, because like I say, Breakdown was very underrated.
That's a beautiful script, and so what I'm trying to say to you is that the connection to that was that Alfie Jennings was a hitman who was damaged. Yeah. You know, he was obsessed about his daughter growing up in the world we now live in. You know, the flashbacks of all the fellas that he's killed before and he didn't want to know anymore. And then, you know, Cosmo being in charge of the group, the home front, of him now turning round saying to him, you know, if you leave, you know, we'll come after you. I just thought, I just love it. It was just interesting.
But he plays the part brilliantly, doesn't he?
Oh, he's a phenomenal actor, James Cosmo.
He is.
Yeah,
he's really
been lucky enough to work with him
presence.
3 times. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a massive fan. But that was a good little film. Good little film. Breakdown.
It was a good film.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. Then we're jumping on to Rise of the Foot Soldier 3, the Pat Tate story.
Yeah. Whoa, hold on a minute. You've left one out.
Oh.
Come on. London Heist.
Sorry, I did miss that.
Come on,
Heist.
you digressed. Which is better than all of them.
Actually, well, I have got London Heist here, but it's the same year.
Yeah.
So, London Heist.
We produced
James Cosmo again, Mem
James
Furder,
Cosmo,
Nick
Rand,
Roland Manoukian, Tony Denham, I'm a big Tony Denham fan.
Yeah.
And George Russo.
Yeah. Georgie boy, yeah. Worked out well. Lionsgate bought it from us. We had a result with that film. My son produced it. You know, I had a big hand in the writing of it. And very, very proud of that film. Turned out very well. It's entertaining. Another character who, you know what I mean? A little bit of something going on in there. Not just a Terminator. You know, emotional turmoil, interesting. And that's, if you're lucky enough to play them roles where them characters are interesting. The human story at its heart, you know.
And then then Rise of the Foot Soldier 3, where you are a one-dimensional character.
Yeah, yes, yeah. That's violent, that film. I remember reading it going, oh, God.
Well received, though.
So that?
Well received.
Very well received. Very well received. But, you know, the script for me gave me a chance to really do some good acting in that as well. You know, one of my favourite scenes in the film is the prison scene where I get hold of my girlfriend and the sex in the cell with the drugs and it just gives you that element of danger, you know, and being not just, it's just edgy acting. It's uncomfortable acting, you know what I mean? People feel uncomfortable watching it. And if you can half get away with it, it shows you're not that bad at your craft. If you can make people feel like that, you know.
Oh no, you play it superbly. I mean, you are. People can't get enough of you playing that role, can they? Really.
Yeah, there've been some really nice pieces lately. Little White Lies did a nice piece. Some other bits and pieces have come out about what I've done with the films and how the character has stood out, which is lovely to hear because at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, I do care about what I do. Regardless, you know, I'm not up here, but I'm in a world where I'm working, and I do care about that. You know, I try to give it everything. I turn up, I'm professional, I learn my lines, and all I want to do is a good job.
I mean, Pat Tate is Rise of the Foot Soldier, really. And now they're talking about doing a reboot, aren't they, with Nick Nevin directing. Are you finished with Rise of the Foot Soldier, or could there be more Pat Tate on the big screen?
You never know, dear. You know, I was sort of done with it after 4, because it was, you know, I've had so many people. I think Andy did such a great job on the film, and I mean that. I mean, as I said to you before, he's a very smart film literate guy, you know, and he took to it like to a duck to water. He was like, he knows, he's got a great mind. He's a sharp thinker, you know. And I think what he'd done with number 4, it stood out. It really did. I can't tell you the emails and the messages that I've had from people because he was smart enough never to regurgitate the same old gear. We always put an edge on it and made it a little bit different, each one.
It was more comedy, wasn't it?
More comedy, yeah. And I think it really worked.
Was more hard.
Yeah. 3 was hard and dark, and it was more about Pat, where I think 4 became a slightly bit more fluffier, more... I think it appealed to a wider audience, you know, especially women, and people liked it as an overall picture of entertainment. Because regardless what you say, I mean, you hear people say, oh, it's not basic, but you know, movies are movies. This is fantasy land. You can do whatever you want with characters. And the proof is in the pudding. You know, it was a #1 film downloaded on all platforms. But yeah, I thought I was done with it. I mean, you know, me and Andy keep talking. There's other bits and pieces we're talking about. You never know. You never know.
Never say never.
Never say never.
Rise of the Foot Soldier 4, we've already sort of brushed on. Avengement was a very good film with Scott Adkins.
Yeah.
And a great cast.
Great cast,
an absolute great cast.
I only did a little bit in it. I mean, it was one of them. It was a nice little job. I thought, oh yeah. I think he's great, Scott. I really do. You know, for me,
it's quite a brutal film as well.
And he's phenomenal in it. I mean, he really is. I mean, I stood there watching him go to work. Them boys, him, Lee Charles, all that little firm, stuntmen, the fights. I mean, it was very impressive to watch, to stand there and witness it. You know.
But it really was a really good film, and you know, not just your brutal. It was a good story. Good
little story.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying to you. Yeah. You know, the reason Scott's done a lot of stuff, this super commercial where he's doing a lot of his martial arts stuff. But at heart, he takes the acting very seriously. You know, he loves it. He's also got that extra bolt-on talent that he can jump all around his room in 30 seconds. You know what I mean? But that is why I sort of gravitated towards it when I read the script and they sent it to me. I said, I've got to do it. I'd met Scott previously and he said to me, you know, me and you have got to do something. And I was glad it was Avengement because it was a really good story. That old business brothers and, you know, and Jesse Johnson's very talented boy. You know, he put together a very tidy little film now. And that's done massive. Huge. I mean, the little inquiries I've had from over the ponds has been...
so it's travelled well?
Very well, yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the thing with... not all gangster films travel well, but you put a bit of action in there, and they seem to... The whole world loves action movies at the moment.
Yeah, but Scott's very big internationally. You know, he's got that cachet overseas, which is what them films need. You've got to remember something. I would say a huge proportion of these movies that we're talking about don't even get... They don't see the light of day off the shores of Folkestone, trust me. You know, Foot Soldier's been very lucky. We've been very lucky with Villain. We were very lucky with London Heist. Done a shitload of territories.
Did Breakdown travel?
Yeah. Obviously, I've got a little bit of a profile now of films that have been bought in the US, so it helps. You know, at a certain level. Yeah, it's working well.
And then, so we're up to date now with Villain.
Villain, yes.
Which comes out on the 28th of February, if my memory serves me right.
Via Vertigo, who I love because they're such a classy company. All of their gear is absolute mint. It just is. I watched The Nightingale 2 weeks ago. Blew me away. I mean, it's a proper film. But you look back at the commercial stuff they've done, Football Factory, Sweeney.
Football Factory is
proper
awesome.
Yeah.
We was talking to Tony Denham about that a couple of years back, and I'm a big Tony Denham fan. I think he should get more roles. But he said, people got legs broken and bones broken making the Football Factory, where it was literally, it was full on, and that's another one that done 1 million DVDs.
Yeah,
and it was one of the biggest pirated movies as well.
Great film.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Love's very talented. I'm a massive fan of his. It's great film.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
So back to Villain. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your character, Eddie Franks.
Well, obviously I know George, Russo, and I know Greg, the writers. And I worked with Bart on Devil's Playground, and we always kept in contact. Bart knows I'm very fussy,
And Bart, you're talking
Bart
about the doctor.
Rispoli, the producer.
Yeah.
He knows I'm a little bit fussy with this type of gear, because a lot of stuff comes my way, and unless it's got something, I sort of tend to swerve them, to be honest with you. But when I read this, it was so refreshing to read, because once again, the human story at its heart, Eddie Franks. I read it in one sitting, and I got on the phone to Bart. I said, mate, I've got to do this. Got to do it. It's a quality film. Covers a lot of social issues that are on what's going on now, And it's a beautiful story. Without going into giving too much away. It's a cracking story. It reminded me of Shane and A History of Violence, because Eddie Franks is a good guy at heart. He comes out doing 10 years, Category A prisoner. Once I get his life back in order, he doesn't want nothing to do with that world anymore. Unfortunately, he's got a younger brother played by George, who we have a pub that we're in the family. And obviously, George is doing business out of the pub with drugs. And I've got a young daughter I've not seen since my wife died and I've been in prison. Played by Izuka Hoyle, Chloe. And all I want to do when I get out of prison is try and make amends, get back with my daughter and try and get my life back. She's got a young baby. And unfortunately, I'm drawn back into this world of what goes on with the pub and the depths that he's been pulled into. And the more shit that he's been dragged into, the more I've got to get him out. And yeah, that's the story, basically. And I have to go to war with...
Because, like you said earlier, with this, you're not a one-dimensional character. You're a three-dimensional character, and you're a father figure to George, to George Russo, your brother in the film. You're sort of a father figure to him. You're trying to get your relationship back with your estranged daughter.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do the best I can with George, but... It's one of them. It's such a fantastic script. It's so beautifully written. It's so sharp. It's so on it. It's so authentic. And the layers to Eddie, it's just phenomenal. The emotional story of it.
I mean, George is a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone the other day. He does play a great loser.
Yeah, massively.
He does it brilliantly.
He lost a load of weight for this because obviously he's on the gear.
I mean, is there when you're on set together, do you stay in character to produce that performance, or I think George has got some different techniques, acting techniques.
Yeah, but he's very similar to me. I mean, Philip Barantini, who directed this, who's another talented boy coming through. He's got a massive future. We had our weeks. I'm not a massive lover of rehearsals, I've got to be honest with you. I tend to like to find it on the day, but with this, it was so... what's the word? I mean, there's so many layers to it that we had to have rehearsals. We had to play these scenes out and just find the line and the balance within the scenes, because we were like, it's like that. And George is very much like me. He's a naturalistic actor. So we just try to make it as real as we possibly could. Obviously, you know, I do that anyway. Add little bits, take little bits, you know, and we tend to find that. We found that tone in it where it was real. You know, we try to keep it very, very natural. And as less acting as possible.
And you're given freedom on set to do that.
Yeah. I mean, Phil was very much like that. And Matt, our DP, very talented guy. You know, I'd watched their short that Phil had directed called Seconds Out. And I went, that's the tone of the film. That's the tone. That's the look, that's the colour, that's the feel, that's the atmosphere, that's everything. If we can somehow get close to that with this story, then we got half a chance to make a really good film.
Because George is also a co-writer as well, so he's...
Well, that's where the authenticity came from, because George is brought up, he's a proper East Ender, he knows that world backwards, you know, and Greg Hall is the same. Greg's very good with the structure, but as a team, they're phenomenal writers.
Yeah, they've got a big future, I think.
Massive future, yeah. So...
You play a hard bastard in this film, but you also are soft, like I said.
Well, you know what? You know, it's a tough one because you obviously he's no mug, Eddie, but he's not in your face. He's a man, as I said. You know, the Shane history of violence is a man who gets pushed and pushed and pushed, and there's scenes in there where he's mugged off. You know what I mean? Where he is belittled, and. You know, playing them scenes, like George was. There's a really proper heavy duty scene with me where it's on top, and George was like watching it. He was off. He said, "God, to see you in that position, to see you not the, was so weird."
You've got one scene fairly new into the film, where there's a couple of guys that don't want to pay their bar bill. And I mean, it's a fantastic scene. I mean, it really is. I mean, for fans of Craig Fairbrass, they're going to get everything they want in that scene.
I remember reading it and thinking, because we actually spoke about the level of violence in this, and I was, you know, and they wanted to approach the violence differently, and I was all up for that. But I just, for me, when I ever watch a film, you know, you look at Bone Tomahawk, you look at those type of movies. Do you know what I mean? When the violence is there. It's brutal, it has an impact, and it's real, and it's quick, and it's over in seconds, which is how it happens. And we sort of came to an agreement, because there was some stuff that they wanted to take out, and this and that. I said, well, we've got to be careful here. You know, we can't do violence for violence sake, but when it's there, it has to be done well. So we came to an agreement. So, yeah, I know what you're saying about that scene. It is a phenomenal scene. And I remember doing it and thinking, if we get this right, then it could be proper.
You did get it right.
Yeah. No, yeah. Mm.
What, when you're playing the softer side, you know, like, you know, you're talking to, is it Chloe, your daughter in the film?
Yeah.
It's a totally different discipline to playing your violent side.
Yeah.
Does it put more pressure on you as an actor?
Yeah, I mean, that's the stuff I would rather do. For me, that film is about the emotional journey. The violence I can do all day long. It's easy. You know what I mean? I hate to say that, but it is. What I love and what I care about more than anything is those scenes. You know, because they give those other scenes more weight, more gravitas, more power. Because the more believable you are in the down stuff, the emotional stuff, the more empathy you get as an actor, as a character, for the audience to come with you on that ride and either love you or hate you. And Eddie has a really, I made sure that there's a side to him that is, people understand why he's doing what he's doing. And I've watched the film and people have said to me, it comes across. And I was so, that gave me so much gratitude, you know what I mean? I was so happy to hear that when you get that feedback from people, say, well, it's worked, you know.
Oh no, you definitely take the audience with you.
Yeah.
And just your chemistry between the older lady barmaid. So
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
Yeah.
But that was a lovely sort of relationship between you two.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you could tell that she really loved you, and that was sort of so. If a woman of that sort of ilk likes you, you can't be all that bad, can you?
Yeah, exactly. And also the stuff with Sean, Sean Franks, George's character. I tried to be, because we had a lot of stuff there where it was like, you're my brother. Trying to get that level between us. But as a film, as a low-budget British thriller, I'm very, very proud of that film. It works. It don't work all the time. You can make films. I've seen a lot of low British films that are they're unwatchable. But when it does work, it's so rewarding. And when other people enjoy it and you get that feedback, it is fulfilling.
You, you are a victim of your circumstance, and you could sort of, with all the gang culture and knife crime, a lot of these youngsters are victims of where they are.
Yeah, massively.
There's no other get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've become like an early morning cleaner. like that was my first job when I left school. Or you join the local gang and start getting into crime.
Yeah.
Do you think film can sort of portray a positive message, trying to tackle that problem?
Well, you'd hope, but unfortunately, it's going to come strange coming from me. But every time I meet on these films, I always talk about, can we tone the violence down? Can we do it? Can we stay away from certain things that is where we don't want to glorify? And I know that sounds really hypocritical from what I've said earlier, but I'm very wary of the violence that is in the films. But you hope that people are, it's like playing Call of Duty. People come up to me, I've had people say to me, how do you feel that you're in games where they might have been, you're voicing characters in games that could be, the instigation for someone to go out and commit murder? I said, well, I'm just an actor. At the end of the day, it's all make-believe. Some people take it a step further.
At the end of the day, it's entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you're always going to get nutters. It's like, horror films,
Yeah. But you look at the level of violence in the big American movies, all the Marvel films, been punched, kicked, shot. It's been there since the dawn of time.
So, who do you think this film will appeal to? Do you think it's going to appeal to a wider audience, as in not just your real hardcore Craig Fairbrass fans?
I think it'll really appeal to them, because what I've learned from the engagement that I've had on Twitter. I'm not a big social media person, to be honest with you. But what I've learned through interaction with people on social media, which interaction I do, is they all appreciate a good film. And I think most people who are movie lovers, genuine movie lovers, the audience of Foot Soldier, they will love this. Because there's elements in there that they'll gravitate towards and they'll watch it and go, they'll be impressed with it because it's in there, that tone of that stuff. But then the story, it will just open it up to a wider audience. And anyone who really, really appreciates a cracking little story, some good actors, and I keep repeating myself, the human story at its heart. There's a gripping little story there that once you get hooked on that ride to the end, it's gripping.
I've seen it a couple of times, and I actually enjoyed it more the second time than I did the first.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but it's a good film.
Yeah.
The secret to a good film, or to sum up what is a good film, is when you've watched it once and you can watch it again.
Yeah.
If you've seen a film once, you don't want to watch it again. It can't be that great a film.
Yeah. But it's like what I said to you early on. When a group of people come together for an allocated amount of time, with cameras, and they do their homework, with the script. Because for me, everything begins with a script. Without that Bible, without that in place, and you've done your own work, then you can go to work and stick your chest out and feel confident that if we're getting what's on the page and it's got conviction to it and it's authentic and it's real, then you're half going to have a result. I know I keep saying that, and that's what's happened with that. We really, really, we just cracked it. Very lucky.
Obviously, I've got to be careful what I say. I can't give too much away. Yeah. But Mark Monero.
Mark Monero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. I like him.
Yeah, he's very good.
And you work well together.
Yeah.
But he wants to do a job. And like, you know, when you think about it, he's got a lovely wife, child.
Yeah.
He's got it all. But he
wants that back into the old life.
He wants that little bit of buzz.
Yeah, a little bit of buzz. Yeah. Yeah. That's a lovely scene. He's a good actor. Well, I was very, very lucky. The people they cast in that film, I mean, Philip Glenister, Tommy May, Michael Trianar. I mean, they're all, you know, Izuka Hoyle, young Taz Skyler who's coming through. He's going to be a massive, massive face. Yeah, all quality people. You know, it's as I keep saying, it's not that hard when you've got good people around you.
Obviously, so Villain comes out on the 28th of February.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I am excited.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there a premiere anywhere?
There's a little premiere in town. Yeah, not a big thing because it, you know, they cost money, these things, don't they? But you know, we've got a nice little screening. But I think the film will speak for itself. I've never said that before. Because, you know, there's no franchise to this. You know, with Foot Soldier, there's a built-in audience. They're gagging for the next one. They know what they're going to get. But I do think they're going to absolutely love this. I really do. It will speak for itself loud and clear.
Well, thank you, Craig Fairbrass, for coming down to BritFlicks. And
thank you, BritFlicks, for having me.
No,
it's been a real pleasure.
Absolute
Cheers,
pleasure.
Mate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.